Hi, welcome to Let's Locums. This is Mark Royer. I'm an ear, nose, and throat surgeon and locum tenens physician. Today, I'm here with Dr. Ryan Mallory. He's a board-certified interventional cardiologist and the founder of Halftime Freedom, a platform dedicated to helping physicians escape burnout and reclaim control of their time through locum tenens work and strategic lifestyle design. After years of working 70-plus hour weeks in a traditional W-2 role, Ryan made the leap into full-time locums, cutting his clinical schedule to just 10 days per month while maintaining his income and dramatically improving his quality of life and time with his family. Through Halftime Freedom, he now guides other doctors toward the same transformation, helping them unlock time, financial, and geographic freedom. Ryan also invests in short-term rentals, using them to create powerful, tax-efficient passive income that maximizes tax savings and teaches physicians how to build wealth without sacrificing their careers or family time. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Mark, I appreciate you reaching out. It's great to be on.
And I'm doubly impressed because you just finished up, you're actually on call right now and just finished up a procedure. So thanks so much for taking such excellent care of patients and still making time for us.
My pleasure.
So I have to tell you, I normally kind of start now with, tell us about your background, tell us what's going on. But I have had a chance since we connected not too long ago to look at some of your content on Instagram. I'm going to play a clip from one of your Instagram reels.
Thing that determines your success as a traveling doctor in a new hospital, it happens in the first 5 minutes. When you walk into a new hospital, every first interaction counts. Introduce yourself to nurses by name. Ask them what they need from you. And this is key, be genuinely interested. Ask them how you can alleviate their concerns and problems. This goes doubly for colleagues. If a colleague is swamped with extra imaging, offer to help out. Sure, you may stay later, but why else are you traveling to work? It's billable hours. It's a win-win situation. These are the people who can make your life either easier or harder. A little effort up front pays massive dividends. How do you make a great first impression? Share your tips below.
That's impressive stuff.
Well, thank you.
I've never even taken a moment to think about that before, like the importance of that first impression and then some actionable tips. When did you come up with that? Was that something that you innately knew? Is this something, did you used to be like a total asshole and then like it clicked all of a sudden and you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should do this.
I've always been a little more laid back, and part of that I attribute to growing up with all sisters. Part of it is just my mindset. When I got into interventional cardiology, I tried to remember what it was like to be a resident or fellow, and remember from that position how it was interacting with an attending. And I carried that with me after training, just to realize that everyone has their own day that's going on. And, I get busy, but there's some things I can't do without other people's help. So sometimes I'm like, I was just in a procedure and the blood pressure monitor didn't work. I had no idea how to fix it, but I needed the blood pressure in order to, fix a heart attack. So it didn't make sense to just bite off someone's head when they're trying to fix it, because I can't do it myself. So I just, usually just take a deep breath, think about the whole situation, and then think about how I'd want to be treated in that other person's shoes. And as I got into locums and started doing short-term rentals, I did a lot of learning about marketing and marketing yourself. And I started applying that. How does that work with locums? And part of that is like, you're the Band-Aid for whatever issue is going on. So you're walking into a place that already has baseline stress. So if you can alleviate that, that increases your value. And if it takes more of your time, perfect. That's why you're there. And it just, I've had a couple situations that this has worked out where I've spent an extra half hour talking to a family, but it's okay because I'm not here with my family. I'm going home to my own place. I'm able to do the little things that I think make a lot of difference in patients' lives. And, other people say, I get calls now to me before anybody else for a couple of hospitals to make sure I'm available. And I think that's probably built up through what I talked about in that content.
When you lay it out like that, it seems so simple. It makes so much sense. Why do you think we as physicians struggle so much to do that?
Well, I think that they might bring with them the practice patterns they had that drove them into locums. I mean, the things that drove me to do locums is I had almost no time to think sometimes. I had procedure after procedure, clinic patient after clinic patient, get the documentation done, get home to see my family, do more at night. And at that point, you're already high strung and spread thin. And so when the third person asks you the same question, even though they didn't know the other two people asked you, it's very easy to just snap it and be like, please just leave me alone. And doing locums, it takes that background pressure off. And so just clearing your mind going into this situation as, this is something I've chosen to do. I have the autonomy. I decided to come here and I'm here. I think that makes a big difference is how your mental shift is from what I guess a lot of the W-2 physicians that don't have control over their time feel versus when you're the one calling the shots.
That is the best, I think, of social media. And that's what I think social media kind of initially aspired to be. And what I hope it can ultimately become is this way to very quickly get distilled, high quality information that can really change your outcome, personally or professionally. So good job, man. Keep at that. It sounds like the fact that going from that W-2 to 1099, going from an employee to doing locums, kind of gave you some breathing room, as you said. When did you go from that employed situation to really start kind of understanding there was another option?
I needed to be led there. It was my wife who brought the idea up. And of course, like all good husbands, I said, that's great. And I kind of half listened to her. And then we started some coaching and the coach brought up the same idea. I was like, that's groundbreaking, earth-shattering idea. And it was the same thing she had been telling me. And I think that I was so ingrained with training to follow a certain path. And, I was, doing advocacy for the ACC. I was going to conferences. I was, working on trying to give presentations, get an administration, all this stuff on the checklist of what a cardiologist should do. And I wasn't thinking outside the box, and it took a lot of personal pain with my job situation and life at home where I had the impetus that I needed to make a shift. And then talking to somebody, a coach that we had, and he said, hey, I've got a friend who's an interventional cardiology locums. Let me get you on the phone. And I had a phone call with him and I was like, this other life exists. And then I started looking into it. And then I put in my notice. I had 6 months I had to give. And then I didn't have anything lined up. So I had 6 months to figure it out. And that's when I really went in the deep dive to figure out how I wanted to structure my life and all the stuff, all the freedom that it brought, which I want to help other people figure out.
So is your wife in the healthcare field?
Yeah, she's a radiologist.
She's a radiologist. Does she do locums as well?
She has, and she's probably going to soon. We'll have to see. Right now, we just got on the cusp of public service loan forgiveness. There's the W-2 portion, not for profit. But I think once, everything clears, she's seeing how it affected me. And, she's the entrepreneurial mind as well. So I have no doubt she'd probably get into it as well.
That's great. What a great team. You mentioned coaching. So that's something I've talked to a number of physicians that they've found value from. Was that a physician specific coach or was it more of just a general career coach?
Yeah, it was a performance coach who was a physician. I got into a group of physicians that went to a financial literacy conference and then learned about a real estate conference. I went there and I met this guy. His name is Vikram Rai. He used to be a cardiologist. Now he owns multifamily, a couple $100 million under assets under management. And he offered performance coaching. And so we talked to him about our 10-year goals and what we wanted to do. And he basically mapped out how we could do it in 3. And then we're like, all right, we're sold. So we started talking to him and it was like, unplugging yourself from the matrix, just a different mindset, thinking as an entrepreneur, thinking about what's possible, abolishing the limiting beliefs that kind of keep you trudging along in medicine.
It's so impressive. I mean, it's so hard to do. Inertia is such a powerful force to take that employed job, take the easy path and not try to unplug yourself from the matrix, as you said. That's quite a story.
I was asked to do an exercise where I imagine how life would be in 5 to 10 years if I continued as is, and what's the cost of not taking action versus what could be. How would I feel in 5 years if I was still doing the same thing? Would I be happy? And the answer was absolutely not. And so then I was like, well, why wait? Just got to start putting one foot in front of the other. It sucked. It was nerve wracking, anxiety provoking, but having somebody to kind of guide the way a little bit was really helpful. But I had to figure a lot of stuff out, and that's part of what I want to take away, that inertia for other people. Kind of say like, these are the steps you need to take, and there's tons of jobs on the other side. Like, get out of your own head.
I'm curious to know if you're direct contracting, if you're working through a locums company.
I'm working through a locums company, so it's a physician-owned locums company. I've thought about direct contracting, but they do a great job of taking care of all the administrative stuff that I realized I'd have to do if I started direct contracting. So at this point, I'm in a happy medium,
Yeah.
but looking into opportunities as I go along.
Well, yeah, I think that
with locums, you got to keep a couple of things on the
that's right.
back burner.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I think that's true. Like a lot of times we're a physician-run locums company. When you don't have recruiters, you really knock out a ton of your overhead when you rely on that network. The big benefit of direct contracting oftentimes is better pay,
Right.
but then you're stuck with a lot of the administrative stuff. But then sometimes you'll find that if you're going through a locums company, if it's physician-owned, sometimes the pay can even be better than when you direct contract. So that's interesting to hear you're doing a physician-owned locums company. That's great. So
That's what I found out. They know how to, because we're not the best at navigating our own worth. We don't know what we're worth,
Mhm.
especially starting out. So they navigated or negotiated some great contracts, and I've just had a great experience so far.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to have like a third party, especially when they're physician owned, that are doing that negotiation, because as opposed to you going to the hospital and saying, well, I want this, or I want this shift incentives, it kind of can put a bad taste, I think, sometimes in the hospital's mouths when they're drilling directly with physician versus a company.
Because they're not used to. They're used to working with physicians in a certain light. They have you in that mind, but if they're working with a company, oh, this is a business.
Yep.
We'll negotiate. Whereas that's not really how we're seen.
Once you started doing locums, how long into that, the working the locums, did you start Halftime Freedom?
I started thinking about it, I would say last fall, and put together some content, put together a website, and really January 1st. So we're brand new, but there was
just this year.
Yeah, just the last year and a half.
2025.
There was so much change that happened in my life that I was like, other people have to, as I talked to other people, like, I had no idea you could do that. And then they'd say, yeah, but how do I do this? How do I do that? That sounds great, but I was like, maybe I can create something to help people get over that but and get through that inertia and experience the changes that I've been able to take, manifest myself.
And you offer, looking on your website, you have the ability, you provide consultation for working locums, consultation for short-term rentals, and just kind of like general consultation. It sounds like performance coaching, kind of, or similar.
I'm open to doing it. I didn't want to throw out a bunch of products to start out with, but I've found some things that work really well, especially with taking the time freedom from locums and how to optimize it. And so, if you sign up for some time with me, I'll send you a questionnaire about what are the pain points that you have, and what do you want to figure out, and then we can have an hour of time where we just delve into exactly what you need to do, and then I include the blueprints with the coaching to so you get those as well if you talk with me, and we'll figure out how can we set up your locums and how can we optimize it. I mean, the short-term rental part, that's been a huge part. I initially opened up a short-term rental business once I started locums, was able to shelter all my locums income with the short-term rental tax savings. And so like last year I worked 101 days and I made more than I did when I was full-time as a W-2.
That's wild.
Tax-free. And just
amazing.
Compounded together. And it's like, I know how to do this now, but there are a lot of pitfalls along the way. There's a lot of suck. And I can help guide you through that so you're not pulling your hair out and can have the same type of opportunities.
Well, if you're coaching and your courses and that content is even a fraction as good as what you put out for free on Instagram, then I can only imagine it is money well spent and definitely worth the time. So again, we'll have those links as well. The short-term rentals are fascinating. Allie and I do not have short-term rentals. I've looked at it quite a bit. The one thing that we, as I'm sure you do, love to travel, and especially with kids. So the idea of having short-term rentals as a business, but then also as, hey, I've got a place here and a place there. I know some people who do it like that. Like they'll have kind of short-term rentals in more resort type areas or outdoor recreation areas. And then some that are very much, yeah, we just, we have them in a Midwest town because that's where all the travel teams come through. Mm-hmm. What is your mix like?
I've got some short-term rentals in Western Michigan where it's all vacation, especially during the summer. A lot of people as you know, in Indiana, if you can drive to Destin or you can go to Lake Michigan to see mm-hmm. sunsets on the beach. And so I have a couple short-term rentals up there. And then I have one in Indianapolis. We actually took our home that we moved from and turned it into a short-term rental. So we have people that are just there for, March Madness. So it's, a city that's got, some compression events. So those are the two places that we have right now.
So how much of your time do you spend managing those? Do you outsource those?
So I didn't outsource everything the first year because I needed the material participation to get the tax savings for the short-term rental loophole. And I was doing more than one property, so I needed 500 hours. And so I thought that's a lot of time, but when I'm working as locums, I can also do my short-term rental stuff. So I spent a lot of the revenue management, marketing, advertising. That was when I got home from my shift. And so I was able to protect that time with my family and work on it while I was away on my locum shifts. And so just getting everything done while I was gone. And then, I had some customer interaction while there were bookings. But now that I'm not trying to get that tax incentive this year, I've started automating systems with my virtual assistant to handle a lot of that so that it can be done without me. The other option is to have a property manager, but you have to underwrite that 10 to 15% or that 15 to 20% with short-term rentals fee and make sure that you're still going to cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty big cut that they would take right. In addition to whatever platform you're using. So that brings me to, not to get too far down a rabbit hole here, but I do love rabbit holes. My personal experience with short-term rentals started in 2016. It was amazing. It was a trip with our 1-year-old and Allie to New Zealand. First time ever using an Airbnb in Christchurch on the beach. It was incredible. Fast forward 6 years later, where I find myself in Switzerland with 3 kids, and I feel like the rule, like from a occupant standpoint, it kind of gotten crazy. They do the jokes about all the things you need to do and the repairs you need to do in the home while you're there renting the place. And when I was like, okay, I'm going to take a step back, and I think they probably made this sign just when I booked it and they saw the American was coming, but there were signs up in the bathroom, please sit down when you pee, and all this type of stuff. So, and then when I get on Reddit, like the Airbnb subreddit that I peruse every once in a while, sometimes it looks like it's just an absolute shit show for like owners of short-term rentals. Have you had any of those issues, or is that one of the things that you were kind of coached on and tell those that you coach kind of ways to avoid those really difficult situations where your house is going to get trashed or you're going to run into some of those pitfalls that pop up in that subreddit?
Yeah. So in order to try and mitigate that, a couple of things that I used to kind of take away that risk was the price. So I did more of a luxury short-term rental. And I don't allow you to instant book unless you have good standing with Airbnb or there's some questions that we ask. So it's a higher price point. So if people are going to spend more money, generally they're more responsible with the property. I also have a property rental agreement that the customers will sign, and then there's a deposit hold on the credit card. So it's $300. I don't actually take it out of your account unless there's some damages, but it at least gives you some skin in the game to know that you can be held responsible if there's something that's wrong. And I've had to take a couple of deposits over the summer. It happens. Sometimes there's things that are outside my customers' controls. I have a cleaner and a handyman that are kind of my boots on the ground that take care of anything. And so, sometimes you have to give some reimbursements if something happened that was out of your control. It affected the, customer's experience, but I'm providing a high-end experience. So that's kind of the standard that I hold myself to. I try not to be perfectionistic, but I try to give a better experience than, the average place that you're staying. Now, when I'm a stay at short-term rentals for my locums jobs, I know how to go through and find ones that are going to work well based on reviews, doing it myself. And I'm at one right now every 2 weeks, and the owner brings me cookies every time I come. And I actually have cooking supplies that she keeps in her pantry and then brings back out whenever I come back, so that I don't have to
Nice.
rebuy olive oil every time I come for $7 a bottle and then throw it away. So little things, you find the right people, and it's a better way to travel compared to a hotel, especially if you're on the road a lot. You got to keep
Mhm.
your routines from home. You can't put everything on pause, otherwise you just eat out all the time and gain weight.
I found that a lot of the docs that are doing this full time really do prefer short term rentals for those reasons. So, are you guys expanding the short term rental empire? Then it sounds like it's going pretty well.
Things have been going well. We just moved to Dallas. We're building a home. We've got some other opportunities that have come up, so we're not actively looking at the moment, but we have capital set aside in case an opportunity comes up. The big thing that's we're watching is they're going through Congress to look at the new tax incentives, and if they do bring back 100% bonus depreciation, right now it's kind of phasing out and it's at 40%. All signs point to them bringing it back, and when it does, then the tax savings are very powerful. But we're not trying to rush into anything right now, optimizing what we have, really.
Well, thanks for going down that rabbit hole of short term rentals with me when I
I
saw it
love
piqued my
talking
interest.
about it. That was a lot of, like I said, it was a lot of time. I did a lot of coaching in the short-term rental space, talked with experts in there, went to some conferences, and it was cool. Sometimes you get into medicine and you're an attending, and you kind of get into a rut because you're treating the same 5 diseases all the time. This is like a whole new skill set, whole new field that I just got to soak in and figure out and meet a bunch of non-doctor people, which you can get some interesting conversation.
I have a couple of specific questions with regards to now that you've transitioned from being the one who is the mentee to becoming the mentor. What's
Yeah.
one mistake that you see docs making when they decide to make the leap into locums?
I think one mistake is not checking to figure out their value. I hear a lot of contracts that are taken a lot lower than I think should be. And, there's Facebook groups for physicians with locums. There's resources to find where you can figure out whether some of the larger locums companies are trying to lowball you. And, we come into this with a trust of people that they're going to do the right thing, because that's what we, base things on in medicine, but we're going into a business. And so doing your homework first and realizing that you might have a target on your back, and just to be, arm yourself with that information, I think is one thing. The other thing is not taking advantage of the extra time that you get, or not realizing that you have the extra time. And, especially if you have little kids, I mean, there's no extra time at home. You go on a shift and all of a sudden you've got evenings to yourself. Like, there's so much you can do with it if you go into it and set it up appropriately.
So the way you describe it, pretty much when you are doing your locums work, you're taking care of patients during the day, probably on call at night, but with that downtime that you have, you're doing a lot of this other work, so that then when you're home, I mean, it sounds like you have the opportunity to be like 100% present with your family.
Absolutely. I had a shift go get rescheduled last fall, and I ended up spending about 50 days at home between November and December, like all of Christmas break and Thanksgiving break. And I went through and thought about different cool things I did with my kids. And I ended up writing a list of like 60 things that we did, just the little things, whether it's going to an arcade in the afternoon after I pick them up from school, or cooking them dinner, or, having a movie night. I'm not focused on other stuff or worried about it. And when you're not, a 4 and a 7-year-old, you just have fun with them. So there's been a lot of good opportunities that I think to create, good memories with my kids, and where I am completely present. And I think my wife appreciates it a lot more too.
You're completely rewriting the narrative here on a 2-physician household, a dad who's an interventional cardiologist, and your kids now having those memories with you. I mean, that would have been unheard of 20, 30 years ago, or hell, even 10 years ago. Even now, I guess, probably in a lot of situations. So good for you.
One of the places I worked with, one of the colleagues, I was actually helping out with some imaging, and he was later in his career, and he said, I worked until about 10 or 11 at night. I had the practice to myself. I kind of missed a lot of my kids growing up. I'm really looking forward to connecting with them as they have their kids and being present as a grandfather. You're doing the right thing, is what he said. And it, spoke a lot to me. It meant a lot. I mean, I know I'm doing the right thing, but just to hear that other viewpoint, a lot of the sacrifice and anxiety was worth it to get to the other side where I am now.
What's one piece of advice you give someone who's considering locums?
Worst thing that can happen is you end up right where you are. Give it a try. There's nothing to lose, because you can go and be employed somewhere else. If you're thinking about locums as a replacement for your current job, then odds are it's not the best job for you. So just do it. And if you don't want to go ahead and quit like I do and figure it out, then you can do locums on a weekend shift and try it out. Like, you can really do it risk-free, and then if it works for you, take the next step. But that's my thoughts on it.
It's interesting because it's kind of like the mantra we have in ENT, where if you're thinking about does this patient need a trach, they probably need a damn trach. You know what I mean? Like, if you're thinking about locums in your employed job, you probably need to get out of your job. It's
I feel like I'm not home enough. You're probably not home enough.
Where do you see locums going over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it's only going to increase as an opportunity, and it might be more of a new norm. I think, especially since COVID, when that steadfastness of your W-2 job was kind of shaken when people got caught. I don't think the practice of staying somewhere for 20, 30 years is necessarily how things are going to work with the technology we have and the shortage. I mean, in cardiology alone, 25% of the cardiologists are over age 60.
Jeez.
So you can only have so many physician extenders and nurse practitioners, and while some of them do a fantastic job, it takes a while to train another cardiologist. And so the places I go to are trying to keep their cath labs open. They need coverage. I don't think that that's going to go away unless there's major shifts in the medical system and other specialties too.
You made a really good point there about COVID shaking that safety net of the W-2. A lot of people did feel like that was a safety net. It was, okay, well, I'm safe here. But it turns out that it's just like it's a blanket, right? It's a safety blanket. It's like my 2-year-old, when they have their blanket they like to carry around. It really can go away just as easily as almost any other employment or contractor situation can. So it really is, I think, a false sense of security a lot of the times.
And the other thing I've heard and realized is nothing kills progress like comfort. You're comfortable enough to stay put, and it'll stop you from accomplishing amazing things. The discomfort and making something for yourself, and you realize this is actually a lot better than what I thought it could be before.
You said you took like 50 days over the holidays and did a lot of cool things with the kids. Do you find it hard to go back to work after that? Because I struggle with that. Like, if I have an extended time off, I'm like, man, I find myself I'm 2 weeks out, then a week out, and it kind of gets in my head a little bit. Do you experience that at all? Like, the kind of dread of going back, or have you really truly gotten to a place where you're just like, hey, it's good. This was good. And now it's time to go and take care of some patients.
Something happened on my first shift back. I was driving to the facility, and I think I may have felt a little like that. And I got activated for a STEMI right away. So now I'm speeding there. I get there, someone's having a heart attack. I stop it. The family's grateful. I have time to talk to them. And I was like, that was fun. That was what I got into medicine to do. And so I actually enjoyed it a lot. And I probably, you know, seeing consults was a lot happier as well because I didn't feel like I was missing out. And I had time to focus on the things I enjoyed in medicine. And then the time afterwards, you know, this year, I've always been, you know, an avid physical fitness person, but I really wanted to start, you know, adding muscle to my frame. So I got a routine at Planet Fitness and I have an hour a day that I can go there now, which it's tough to do at home.
Mhm.
I kept on saying I was going to do it in December and it just, you know, I just need a good night's sleep. And then your 4-year-old comes in at 3 a.m. with whatever. So I find that I have a little more control over my schedule when I'm on my shifts. And, you know, I've set up the travel part where I'm in Dallas. I've got a Centurion Amex card. So I go to the Centurion Lounge. I've got gold status now. So I get upgrades. It's not stressful to travel either. So
Hmm.
all the parts of it I'm enjoying right now.
Well, that's fabulous. So before we transition into my fast five that I do for our guests, I would like you to tell us a little bit about halftime freedom, the services you offer.
Yeah, with halftime freedom, I want to help physicians and other income professionals find ways to optimize their income and gain time and freedom and independence. So uh, if you come on and we have a call that we can talk about ways to apply these principles that I'm talking about, the 5 freedoms, to your life specifically. But I have blueprints. I've got a 70-page blueprint for locums, you know, where to start, what questions to ask to get started, what the credentialing process looks like, how to figure out a locums company, how to travel, what to pack, what to do so that you're not constantly unpacking, repacking, what credit cards to look at, how to get to a hospital and then make a good impression, how to start direct contracting from your initial hospital visit. There's just a lot of different things I've put into this that I've learned that I feel like if I was handed initially, I could have accelerated my my journey. And then on the other side of it, I did a lot with short-term rental investing. So taking that W-2 income, that 1099 income, and sheltering it so that you don't have to work as much and you end up taking home more. So it's all about providing freedom, whether it's financial freedom, time freedom, freedom to work on yourself physically with your family. I want to give back to other physicians and help them realize the life that I've stumbled upon.
Outstanding. We'll have links to all of those. You have obviously Instagram that I've been on, your website, and then you have a Facebook page, Facebook and Twitter
Yep.
as well, or Facebook and X. Excellent.
Yep.
Okay,
Facebook,
so
LinkedIn. Yep.
excellent, great. So fast five kind of questions. Usually, I try to something that kind of stands out in my guest's background that I find interesting that I kind of want to know a little bit more about. So you're clearly a super dad. So I know a lot of times maybe screen time is frowned upon, but I do love watching a good kids show with my kids. So I'm curious, what's your favorite show to watch with your kids?
With my kids, you know, Paw Patrol grew on me
Paw
after a while.
Patrol.
When my son really loved watching my son's response to it, and then you know, I figured out the characters' names, and then he thought I was really cool that I knew the characters' names. So it's just
So who's your favorite? Who's your favorite Paw Patrol?
I got to go with Rubble.
Rubble? Yeah, Rubble's a good
He's
one.
always getting into stuff, bulldozing things. It's just like an embodiment of my son.
A city you want to book a short-term rental in, anywhere in the world.
There's a lot, but I would say, I definitely want to. Lake Como would be great to visit. Northern Italy.
Yeah. It sounds to me like you love your specialty, but a question I did have was if you go back in time, would you change your specialty? And if so, what would you choose?
I don't think I'd change my specialty. If I did go back, I might, I don't know, maybe derm.
Sure.
I don't know. It's tough to say. Maybe not.
No speeding, no speeding for stimmies and derm though. It sounds like, I mean,
Yeah.
so what I love, what stood out to me about you describing your situation, especially with regards to your job now, because you're independent, you now have the autonomy, right? And that's one of the things I think is really important to preventing burnout. Autonomy, feeling like you're well compensated. You said you work half as much, make more than you did full-time employed. and then the feeling like you're good at what you do. I mean, clearly you're good at what you do, and I think you appreciate that. But then also that what you're doing is making a difference, is making an impact. And it'd be hard to, it seems like you check all those boxes, and correct me if I'm wrong there, but from our short conversation, sounds like that.
Yeah, going back through all the training and everything, I don't know if I'd pick another specialty. I'm pretty happy with this one.
And then it looks like you do some hiking outdoor. You said you like fitness out, kind of an outdoors guy. Do you have a epic hike that you're planning to do at some point?
I don't have an epic one planned. I've had a couple of friends that have hiked Mount Kilimanjaro. I think going to Africa and doing that would be a fantastic experience. It's on my list. Seems like a hike that would be difficult to do, but not impossible. I'm not, having to scale mountain faces.
Yeah, I don't think you don't have to rope up or anything, and don't need any ice picks. Just get used to the elevation from what I've heard.
Yeah, I'm too aware of my own mortality to be, facing cliffs.
Falling down a crevasse would be a rough way to go, I think. So Achilles probably a good option. And then, so you trained at one of the greatest medical schools in the world for your residency and fellowship as well?
So medical school was Ohio State. So I was a Buckeye, and then residency fellowship and we're cardiology over at IU.
At IU. So IU, and their training campuses are in Indianapolis, even though IU is in Bloomington, their main one. What's your favorite thing to do in Indianapolis?
My favorite has been going to Pacers games with my daughter. It's a lot of fun. It's very walkable downtown, especially whenever they have the All-Star Game, Super Bowl. I can understand that the bars, the restaurants are right there next to Bankers Life. They've got a nice thing going in downtown Indy.
It's a great city, and it suffered a little bit during COVID, suffered a lot during COVID, but it has really come back now. So I don't know if you have the opportunity to, I know you have a short-term rental there, but yeah, great city. There are ENT conferences going to be there this year. So I'm really excited about that. They finally pulled it away from Miami and LA to come to Naptown, USA.
There's a little gem of Indianapolis. There's a baker that has a shop called Circle City Sweets, has the best almond croissants that I've ever had in the world. I try and find them better elsewhere, but she trained with Parisian chefs in Chicago and like down in Dallas, and she is the real deal. It's tough to not get one when I
Is that downtown or in Broad Ripple or
Mass Ave? It's right across from all the hospitals. It's this little complex that they have like a farmer's market in the winters and it's like an indoor food court.
Oh, so yeah.
Not that far away from downtown. And then a couple of the coffee shops carry them as well, so that you can, she ships them out to them.
And then another travel-related question here. What would you choose? A family trip involving a private jet flight. Now, I'm not talking like the Saudi oil 777 here. We're talking light business jet anywhere in the U.S. with your family, or business class flights with the family anywhere in the world.
I'd have to go with the business class flights. You get the lay down experience long term. That'd be a lot of fun. It'd probably ruin my kids' travel because they would want to lay down every flight going forward. But we really want to go. My daughter's taking French. She'd love to go to Paris. That would be great to go transatlantic with business class flights. Awesome.
Well, that's great. Ryan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I've had a lot of fun chatting with you. I really encourage everybody to get on your Instagram and get nonstop gold on there. I hope you keep putting that stuff out. I'm going to enjoy it before it goes behind the paywall, and then I'll subscribe whatever I need to pay to keep it coming.
I appreciate the positive feedback. I'm just speaking my mind. I'm glad that you're finding value in it.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for hopping on here in the middle of a locum shift right after saving a life. I really appreciate all that you do. And
that time, and I got to connect with somebody else in the locums field. This is fantastic. Thanks for having me on.